Imagine buying your dream childhood home, only to have a power-hungry HOA declare war on you for refusing to join their tyrannical club. What started as a nostalgic restoration turned into a nightmare of fines, threats, and neighborhood sabotage. Stick around to hear how I fought back and won. If you're hooked on these wild HOA drama stories that expose entitled Karens and overreaching boards, smash that like button right now, subscribe for more insane tales every week, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Let's dive into this epic 3-chapter saga. The sun hung low in the sky, that crisp autumn afternoon, when I first pulled up to the old Victorian house on Elm Street, my heart pounding with a mix of excitement and nostalgia. This was the place where I'd spent my earliest years, chasing fireflies in the backyard and climbing the gnarled oak tree that still stood sentinel by the fence. Life had taken me away. College, a career in the city, a string of apartments that never felt like home. But now, at 35, I was back. The house had fallen into disrepair after my parents sold it decades ago, passing through a few owners who let it decay. When it hit the market, I knew it was fate. I scraped together every penny from savings and a modest inheritance, outbidding a developer who wanted to tear it down for condos. The closing papers were signed, and just like that, it was mine again. But here's the kicker. This property sat just outside the boundaries of Willow Creek Estates, the sprawling subdivision next door governed by one of the most notorious HOAs in the county. I'd heard whispers about them during my due diligence, strict rules on everything from grass height to holiday decorations, but since my lot wasn't part of their domain, I figured it was none of my concern. How wrong I was. As I unloaded boxes from the moving truck, I noticed a sleek black SUV idling at the end of my driveway. Out stepped a woman in her 50s, impeccably dressed in a pantsuit, clipboard in hand. She introduced herself as Margaret, the HOA president, with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She welcomed me to the neighborhood, but her tone carried an undercurrent of authority as if she owned the whole block. She handed me a pamphlet outlining the benefits of joining the HOA voluntarily, shared amenities like the community pool and park, plus protection from declining property values. I politely declined, explaining that my home was independent and I preferred to keep it that way. Her expression soured, but she left without further comment. Little did I know that was the opening salvo in what would become a relentless campaign. Over the next few weeks, I threw myself into the restoration. The house needed everything: a new roof to stop the leaks, fresh paint to cover the peeling exterior, and updated wiring to prevent any fire hazards. I hired local contractors, folks I'd known from childhood, and we worked tirelessly. The front porch, once sagging and splintered, was rebuilt with sturdy oak beams, and I planted a garden of wildflowers along the walkway, evoking memories of my mother's green thumb. Neighbors from the subdivision wandered by occasionally, some offering friendly waves, others casting curious glances. Then the notes started appearing, tucked under my windshield wiper or taped to the door, anonymous complaints about the eyesore of construction debris, even though I kept the site tidy with daily cleanups. One evening, as I sanded the banister inside, I heard a commotion outside. Peering through the window, I saw a group of HOA board members measuring the distance from my property line to their subdivision entrance. They were muttering about boundary disputes, claiming historical records showed my lot was meant to be included. I stepped out to confront them, but they dispersed like shadows, leaving me unsettled. The next day, a certified letter arrived from the HOA's lawyer, demanding I submit to an audit of my property deeds. It cited vague covenants from the 1980s, suggesting my home was annexable under certain conditions. I laughed it off at first. My real estate attorney had assured me the boundaries were clear, but the persistence gnawed at me. I dove into research, poring over county records at the local library. Sure enough, my property predated the subdivision by 50 years, grandfathered out of any HOA oversight. Armed with copies, I ignored the letter, focusing instead on the kitchen remodel. Granite countertops replaced the Formica relics, and I installed energy-efficient appliances that hummed quietly in the background. The house was coming alive again, room by room. But the HOA wasn't done. Petty acts of sabotage began. My mailbox was repeatedly knocked over, blamed on vandals, though security footage from a neighbor's camera showed a familiar SUV nearby. My contractors reported receiving anonymous calls warning them off the job, citing potential liens if I didn't comply. One morning, I woke to find survey stakes planted along my fence marked with HOA flags, as if claiming territory. I pulled them up, but the message was clear. They were testing boundaries literally and figuratively. Tensions escalated when Margaret hosted a neighborhood meeting at the community center, which I wasn't invited to but heard about through a sympathetic resident. There she rallied support against rogue properties like mine, arguing that my independent status devalued their homes. Petitions circulated, pressuring the county to redraw lines. I felt isolated, but I wasn't about to back down. I attended the next public county board meeting, presenting my evidence and voicing concerns about harassment. The officials nodded sympathetically but offered no immediate action, citing bureaucratic processes. Back home, I fortified my resolve by hanging family photos on the freshly painted walls, reminders of why I was fighting. The restoration continued apace. The attic converted into a cozy office, the basement waterproofed against floods. Yet each accomplishment was shadowed by the HOA's shadow. One stormy night as rain pelted the new roof, I sat by the fireplace I'd restored, pondering my next move. The battle was just beginning, and I knew the HOA's tactics would only intensify. The harassment had crossed into something more sinister, and I was ready to push back harder than ever before. As winter's chill settled over Elm Street, the HOA's campaign against me ramped up from subtle nuisances to outright aggression, transforming my dream restoration into a fortress under siege. I'd just finished insulating the walls, ensuring the house stayed warm against the biting winds, when the first official fine arrived. It was a citation from the county, prompted by an HOA complaint, alleging my garden violated setback rules, even though my property wasn't subject to their codes. The fine was nominal $50, but it was the principle that stung. I contested it immediately, submitting affidavits and maps to the zoning office, but the process dragged on, eating into my time and energy. Meanwhile, the restoration pressed forward. I refinished the hardwood floors, revealing the rich grain hidden beneath layers of old carpet, and installed custom cabinetry in the bathrooms, blending modern convenience with vintage charm. But peace was elusive. Anonymous online reviews trashed my contractors, accusing them of shoddy work, which I suspected originated from HOA loyalists. One builder backed out, citing the hassle, forcing me to find replacements and delaying the project by weeks. Margaret, ever the ringleader, escalated her personal involvement. She'd park across the street for hours, binoculars in hand, documenting every delivery and worker's arrival. I installed my own cameras, capturing her in the act, but when I reported it to the police, they dismissed it as harmless neighborhood watching. The pettiness peaked during the holidays. I decorated modestly, a string of lights along the eaves, a wreath on the door. Nothing extravagant. Yet, the HOA sent a cease and desist, claiming my display clashed with their uniform theme and could confuse residents. Ignoring it, I added a few more touches, like vintage ornaments in the windows, defying their control. Retaliation came swiftly. My power flickered inexplicably one evening, and upon investigation, I found tampering with the utility box. The electric company confirmed sabotage, but without proof linking it to the HOA, no charges stuck. Frustration mounted as I balanced restoration with defense. The backyard transformation was underway, a new deck overlooking the oak tree, perfect for summer barbecues. But materials went missing overnight, tools vanishing from the shed. I suspected neighborhood kids egged on by parents, but confrontation yielded denials. Digging deeper, I joined online forums dedicated to HOA horror stories, connecting with others who'd faced similar battles. Their advice ranged from legal strategies to psychological warfare, inspiring me to file a counter-complaint for harassment. The county clerk's office became my second home, where I unearthed old minutes from HOA meetings revealing a pattern of aggressive expansion. Armed with this, I hired a lawyer specializing in property rights, dipping into restoration funds I'd set aside for landscaping. The legal fees hurt, but the expertise was invaluable. As snow blanketed the ground, I completed the interior painting, choosing soft blues and grays that evoked calm amid the chaos. Yet the HOA struck again, petitioning the city council to annex my property involuntarily, citing community benefit. Public hearings ensued, packed with HOA supporters in matching shirts chanting about unity and standards. I stood alone at the podium, detailing the harassment, presenting footage and documents. The council tabled the matter, but the victory felt hollow as whispers of retaliation followed me out. Back at the house, I focused on smaller wins, restoring the original stained glass window in the foyer, its colors dancing in the winter light. But isolation crept in. Friendly neighbors grew distant, fearing HOA backlash. One brave soul, an elderly widow from the subdivision's edge, slipped me notes of encouragement, revealing internal dissent against Margaret's regime. Emboldened, I started a discreet newsletter, emailed to select residents, exposing the HOA's overreach with facts and anonymized stories. Responses trickled in, some supportive, others warning of consequences. The climax of this phase came during a fierce blizzard. Power lines downed across the area, but my independent setup, solar panels I'd installed during restoration, kept the lights on. HOA homes flickered dark and desperate residents knocked on my door for aid. I shared extension cords and hot cocoa, turning adversaries into tentative allies. Margaret arrived, demanding I prioritize members, but I refused, helping all equally. This act sowed seeds of doubt in her authority. As spring thaw approached, the restoration neared completion. The exterior siding gleamed, the chimney rebuilt brick by brick. Yet the legal storm brewed stronger. My lawyer uncovered a conflict of interest. Margaret's husband owned the development firm eyeing my land. This revelation could change everything, but proving it required more digging. The HOA's grip tightened, with increased patrols and veiled threats via mail. I fortified the property with better locks and alarms, vowing not to yield. The fight had evolved from property lines to principles, and as the first buds appeared on the oak tree, I prepared for the final confrontation that would decide the fate of my childhood sanctuary. Spring burst forth with vibrant greens and blooming flowers, mirroring the resurgence of my determination as the HOA's onslaught reached its feverish peak, forcing a showdown that would redefine neighborhood dynamics forever. The restoration was in its final stages. The garden fully planted with heirloom roses and herbs, the driveway repaved smooth as silk, and the entire house wired for smart home features that blended seamlessly with its historic soul. But tranquility remained a distant dream. Margaret, sensing her empire cracking, unleashed a barrage of tactics. First came the environmental complaints. Anonymous tips to the EPA alleging runoff from my garden polluted their manicured lawns, triggering inspections that found nothing amiss but wasted days. Undeterred, I hosted a small open house for non-HOA locals, showcasing the revival and garnering community support through word of mouth. Photos circulated online, countering the HOA's narrative of neglect. Retaliation intensified. My water supply was mysteriously contaminated with sediment, requiring filtration systems and tests that pointed to upstream tampering. The utility company investigated, but evidence evaporated like morning dew. My lawyer pressed forward, subpoenaing HOA records that exposed the conflict. Margaret's husband had lobbied for annexation to expand his developments. This bombshell hit local news, a small article buried in the paper but amplified through social media shares from forum allies. Public opinion shifted. Residents grumbled about dues hikes funding legal battles instead of amenities. Margaret doubled down, organizing a blockade. Vehicles parked to obstruct my driveway during a contractor's visit, delaying the final touches like exterior lighting. Police intervened, citing traffic laws, but the delay cost me. I countered by filing a lawsuit for defamation and harassment, seeking damages and an injunction against further interference. The courtroom became the battlefield, with hearings packed by both sides. Testimonies revealed the HOA's dirty tricks, forged petitions, coerced signatures, even bribes to officials. My evidence, videos, emails, witness statements painted a damning picture. As proceedings dragged, I completed the restoration. The attic library stocked with books from my youth. The basement turned media room, echoing with phantom laughter from childhood movie nights. The house stood proud, a beacon of independence amid conformity. Cracks widened in the HOA. Board members resigned, citing ethical concerns, and a recall election loomed for Margaret. Desperate, she attempted one last gambit, a fake emergency meeting claiming my property harbored code violations that endangered the subdivision. Inspectors swarmed, but my meticulous documentation proved compliance, turning the tables. The county fined the HOA for false reports, eroding their credibility. In the final hearing, the judge ruled in my favor. No annexation, dismissal of all claims against me, and an order for the HOA to cease contact. Damages awarded covered my legal fees with extra for emotional distress. Margaret slunk away, her authority shattered as residents applauded the verdict. Post-victory, the neighborhood transformed. Former foes extended olive branches, sharing pool access informally, and a new board promised reforms. My childhood home, fully restored, became a symbol of resilience, its walls echoing not just memories but triumph. I settled into routines, morning coffee on the porch, evenings tending the garden free from shadows. The oak tree bloomed fuller that year, as if celebrating with me. Though scars lingered, the peace was profound, a testament to standing firm against overreach. Thanks for sticking through this wild HOA battle. If you enjoyed the drama, hit that like button, subscribe for more epic stories, and drop your own neighborhood nightmares in the comments below. See you in the next one.